radio check. There's radio check on the CB radio channel.
You could visually see.
Radio check 1 2. Radio check 1 2 1 2.
Hey, radio check team, welcome back. Today we are going to officially review the Uniden Pro401HH CB radio. I know I always say officially, but the reason why I say that, let me lower this. The reason why I say this is because I do mention a lot of these radios on my Instagram if you follow me, and I don't want you to think that I'm not going to be reviewing either the same information or going more in depth. But so this is going to be our official, is this crooked? Straight. Official review of the two radios that I bought actually some time ago, maybe last year if I recall. I haven't had CB radios since about maybe, I would say 10, 15, 20 years, somewhere around there. I think the last time I had a CB radio was in 2008, somewhere around that area. After I got rid of those or lost them, I never went back to get more CB radios, only because there's a lot of other radios that in my opinion, perform a lot better. CB radios were never really meant for long distance communication. They're never really meant for professional use. They've been used for a lot of things in the past. If you ever watch the old style racing, Baja Racing, you can see they had the old school looking CB radios with I think they call it the telescope antenna, where it extends and it goes, I don't know how many feet, but it's way over our heads, way over. It can touch the roof if anything. And that's how those CB radios were originally designed. Those were one of my first few CB radios from Radio Shack. I think it's TRC something, I don't know the numbers. But, again, they at some point became very inconvenient, or I would say maybe GMRS, FRS came out and replaced CB radios. But again, these were never really meant for long distance. I think the max power is 4 or 5 watts for CB radios. And CB radios generally operate in the 26, 27 megahertz band, which is HF. HF is actually a pretty good band for long distance communication, but it does depend on the power, depends on the antenna. If you ever drive around and see houses with those big giant antennas over the roof, those are more than likely HF. Those are the ones that can reach thousands of miles. I've seen some people with 5 watts or 10 watts, 25 watts. They do reach other states, and that's pretty good for that. But for some reason, in all the times I've used CB radios, I've never seen them go beyond the distance of maybe a neighborhood. Growing up, I used, again, these specific Radio Shack CB radios. In fact, my parents had bought me quite a few of them because those were always on my Christmas list, and I had enough to pass out to my friends in the neighborhood, and we got all clear communication in the neighborhood, right? Because we're within that less than a mile radius. So, after this, I'll probably do a field test. I'll probably jump on the bike and drive around the shopping center somewhere and see the distance. Again, I don't have a lot of faith in these. I only say that because the wattage is very low. The band is good, 26, 27 megahertz, but HF has never really been known to penetrate through buildings. I always say obstruction. That's where the frequency UHF does a little bit better. VHF, the reason why Marine uses, not Marines, but Marine as in, boats, they use VHF because it still has that pretty good, not a very high frequency, not a very low frequency, so it can travel with the right height and distance with the antenna. But again, anyways, going back to this, I don't have a lot of faith in these, only because I haven't used these in about 15 to 20 years. I don't know how long it's been since 2008 to now. If you're good at math, please drop the math below, but it's somewhere in that area. So I picked these up because I did see them on, I first saw these at Love's gas station or Pilot, one of those two. I always check to see if they have these, and they did. And at one point, it came down to, I think it was like $69. And of course, Amazon beats that, so it was down to $59, so about $60 each. So I bought two of these because, again, it's always best to go to do radio to radio versus just doing one radio. So after this, I'll probably see if I can do radio to radio, at least one of them, and do like I typically do, leave the antenna on the outside of the Jeep and see how far I can get away. So, but let's review this radio here now. I'm going to tell you my pros and cons. Let me get the other radio. Stand by. All right. So traditionally, I grew up with, like I said before, some older CB radios. The one I'm going to show you now is actually a little older than than what I had. This is going to be a Maxon CB radio, very traditional of how they used to be. These are the type of CB radios I grew up with. Very big and bulky. I like bigger radios. Smaller radios to me feel like toys. They don't feel very serious. Not that the IP really mattered to me when I was growing up with radios, but I felt like the bigger it was, the more you can actually handle it. It felt obviously a little bit more powerful. And it always wasn't, but that's how I really grew up, feeling like the bigger radios were better. So these are kind of very thin, very narrow. Again, I'm not a fan of how thin this is. As you can see, I can probably fit two of these side by side. And so it's just a little bigger than, you can see it's about so 1.25 of these Uniden radios is the size of this Maxon radio. Now, again, these are all still 4 or 5 watts. I say between 4 and 5 watts because I've seen some advertised for 5 watts. I even seen some advertised for 25 watts. I don't know how true or accurate that is because it always says up to 25 watts. That's the marketing scheme. So I really don't know, how powerful those were before. But looking at this one here, you can see it has a low and high. Obviously, high is your 4 watts, low maybe 1 watt or half watt. And again, traditionally, these had different type of style for knobs, volume, squelch. I'm a big fan of knobs for channel or volume. A lot of these, some of the radios you see now, the FRS radios, it just has one knob for volume. I'm not a fan of those. I've always liked the convenience of being able to change channels with a knob. With these type of CB radios, the newer ones, it was mainly up and down, as you can see here, button up and down. The reason for that is because a CB radio has about 40 channels, and with those 40 channels, each channel has a frequency dedicated. So universally, 1 through 40, it's all going to be the same. If you buy a CB radio and I buy one, our channel 1, 5, 10, 20, and 30 are all going to be the same. So this one, you can kind of see how it actually does a channel up and channel down. This is kind of cool. I really do like this. You can see here and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 versus a button. I don't mind buttons, but I like I said, I don't mind knobs, and I prefer knobs over buttons. Well, unless you have enough knobs up here, then you can go down to buttons. But what else can we look at this radio? So the antennas are called, I keep forgetting the name of it, even though I grew up with these. I think it's like BNC. This is a style of antenna CB radios typically come with. It looks like it has 2 little hooks here on the side. You can see that. Has a pin in the middle. And then the antenna has a pin in the middle. And then the 2 areas where you're going to drop the 2 little hooks, and you're going to twist it. Okay, so you're going to go here. See that there? And then you're going to twist. Okay, now that's on there. So these are the style antennas these typically come with. Generally, they are all universal for CB radios. I mean, they should be. There's no reason why one antenna should be different from the other one. Some of them, they go on differently. Let me see if I can show you this one. So it's going to look the same at the bottom here. Oops. You can kind of see where they both have the insert, 1, 2, and this one has the same thing here, 1 and 2. So again, generally they're all universal. Oops, sorry. They're all universal. For example, this one fits on this one. And again, antennas are preference. The taller, the longer, the well-tuned antennas are going to obviously reach a little further. Again, height and clearance is where you're going to get your distance from. Not really so much with power or the options or features of the radio. But so again, usually these are all universal. I say usually because some of them do have that telescope one that I told you about that extends far out. And those you typically cannot take off. Some of them you can. I've seen some telescope antennas where you can actually do the BNC and it extends out. I mean, if you can get that and you're serious about CB radio, I would say that's probably your best. That way, again, you can extend the antenna way out beyond. See, oh, got this one stuck. Okay. Again, I'm a fan of big antennas, big radios. I really like this style here. It does look a little bit more beefier than if you're going to put this one side by side. The antenna's longer, the radio's bigger PTT, as I've said before. I love big PTTs only because in a moment second you can actually just reach and you can use your entire hand to talk. Versus these, I feel like you have to use one finger and you have to press it just at the spot, right? Versus this one, you can push it pretty much anywhere on this thing and it's going to go. I don't know if you can hear that. It's clicking all the way down, right? This one, oh, only at the bottom, not the top. All right. Another complaint I'm going to have about CB radios. I don't want to say one of the reasons why I let them go, but it's also because CB radios don't usually have battery packs. If you know an FRS radio, GMRS radio, business band, XTS, Apex, whatever the radio is, it usually has a battery pack that's dedicated that snaps onto the radio. Let's see if I can grab one. So this has a dedicated radio, right? So you're going to grab this battery and you're going to snap it on, and that's dedicated, right? Same thing with the Apex. You're going to take the battery off, right? And then you're going to put the battery back on them, right? The CB radios, as far as I remember, other than that Radio Shack one that I bought, and I'll show a screenshot of it, they all need a bunch of AAA batteries. I think I've seen up to 9, 10 per radio. Let's see how many this one has. This one has 3, 6, 9, 10. There you go. This one has 10 batteries that it needs. Okay. And this one, if I can get this thing off, got it off. This is going to be 3, 6, 9. So 9. There you go. So this one's going to be 10. This one's going to be 9 AAA batteries. The other downfall with this is that if the batteries are rechargeable batteries, I've tried to do this test multiple times with rechargeable batteries. For some reason, rechargeable batteries never really reach 100%. And when you put them in here and start talking, it starts to give you the low battery indicator. So it tells me that the rechargeable batteries probably are not best for CB radios. I don't think it should be depleting the battery life that quickly. But if you think about it, it's just on a constant power suction through when you have the radio on, right? It doesn't mean it's transmitting, but it means it's on standby. It means the radio is standing by to receive with whatever the features. Obviously this one only has channel features. So let me go back to that. So that's another thing about the CB radios is that you have 40 channels and no quiet tones, no privacy tones, no private lines. The FRS radios, you have 121 privacy or quiet code. CB radios are just frequencies per channel. There is no tone that you can add. There is no, I guess, just a tone you would describe it that makes it not noisy. So it's either you turn on the radio and whatever frequency you want to use, you're going to get whatever audio or interference or noise that comes through. There's really no option for that. So that's one of the downfalls, or I guess one of the cons about the CB radios is they typically do not come with any sort of privacy or quiet tones or just tones in general. And sometimes you don't want to hear all that junk that comes through. CB radios now, I mean, before CB radios used to have dedicated channels. I don't think this one has one, but Channel 9 used to be emergency. Channel 19 used to be for traffic or truckers, road trips. So they used to come with the Channel 9 and 19 dedicated little button or little toggle. And so you kind of knew that on Channel 9, you can get police, or you can get highway patrol used to monitor CB radios. I think the last time I've heard when I used to live in California, CHP get on the radio was 20 years ago. I don't remember, but I do remember the trucker saying, "Hey, do we have CHP with us today?" And this was on Channel 9, and CHP responded. And they said, "Well, I'm reporting an accident on whatever highway," and they responded. But now I really doubt they monitor these, right? I would assume they'll monitor FRS or GMRS more, but they don't. And so again, 40 channels, no privacy tone. All you really hear on these the CB radios now is talking a bunch of junk. All right, they people get on these. I don't know if it's truckers or people with their ham radios that can get down to 26, 27 megahertz, and they trash talk each other. That's all you really hear is a lot of profanity and just nonsense. So really, to get on here, it's more annoying, more of a nuisance than to use this as a prepper radio or to use it as an emergency radio. I think I saw someone post on their Instagram. I think it's someone that I follow that says, "Yeah, CB radios are still great. We still use them. They're great for emergencies." I don't know. Again, I think it's a preference because I don't see any benefit in CB radios unless you can have some quiet tones or privacy tones or just tones in general. So you and your party or your group or your rescue team, whatever, can jump on these and use them without interruption. I guarantee you, if I turn this on, we're going to hear just a bunch of noise. People like to whistle all the time. People like to just talk one way, and that's all they like to do. So let's put some batteries in here and see what we can hear. I'll show you what it sounds like. That's another thing about CB radios. CB radios for the longest time used to be AM. Is it crooked? Sorry. AM amplified modulators. I got to look up the definitions for it, but CB radios for years and years used to be AM, and not too long ago, FCC approved CB radios to be AM and FM. Now, to describe the difference, turn on your AM radio and listen to any radio, any station on the AM mode on your car, and you're going to hear it's just muffled. It sounds amplified, right? If you go over to FM, it sounds a little bit more clear, right? There's not so much static in the background. There's not so much white noise, so it's a little bit more clear. And CB radios finally, FCC finally allowed us to start using that. But again, did they make that switch because no one uses it and they can kind of care less? I don't know why they've never cared to approve FM. It's not like someone else was using 26, 27 megahertz on FM. I could be wrong, but I don't recall seeing AM. The only time I ever saw something use 27 megahertz was a friend that had like an RC car, and the controller was actually 27 megahertz. Whether it's AM or FM, I don't remember, but that's the only time I've ever seen a device or something other than a CB radio use 27 megahertz, which I don't know why they decided to use 27 megahertz, even though they know CB radios use them. But whatever, we're past that. I think, I don't know, I think they use 56 megahertz. There's some other megahertz they use now for remote control cars, but it shouldn't be 27 megahertz. All right, let's put some batteries in here and we'll turn it on. We'll see what it sounds like. I had to go out and buy some batteries. Again, that's the only bad part about CB radios is I bought these at Walmart. These were, I don't know, about $15 or so. And again, these, if they're not rechargeable, they're one-time use. You throw them out, and that's all you're really going to get. So I'm not a fan of having to pick up so many batteries to use a radio, especially if you're going to use the CB radio as a standby, as a prepping tool. You got to make sure you got a lot of AAA batteries and packaged well, and you got to make sure that they don't get wet or moist. You got to make sure that they don't deplete over time. They have a long battery shelf life. Other than that, it's going to deplete, and you're not going to have the power that you need when you need to, I guess, recharge them or to use it. Most of the some of the radios now that are coming out, they're coming out with the USB-C rechargeable connectivity. Excuse me, which I think is such an awesome idea. I'm waiting for Motorola to do the same thing. In fact, I've seen XPR 7550 and 6550 batteries come with a USB-C charging port. Great, I love it. Right, some of the Baofeng radios are coming out with the USB-C connectivity. I like to see that be a very universal feature or option. But again, CB radios are not really going to have that. On this side here, you'll see that it has a DC. It's a 13.8 volt, which is not very standard. I don't want to say it's not standard, but it's not very easy to find one that's 13.8. I did buy a 13.8 volt wall, or what do you call it, the DC, right? The one that goes into the outlet, DC direct current outlet, and I hooked it up. But for some reason, either the cable was cheap, it wasn't enough power, it just made a lot of buzzing noises. So I returned it to Amazon. I didn't even keep it because what's the point of having a cord, power cord that's not even going to power it up? And then I used to have it over here somewhere. These do come with cigarette lighters. I'll see if I can find one. Stand by, let me find it. Stand by. All right, I'm back. Here is what it came with, a cigarette lighter connection. So this is how, before I bought the batteries, this is how I was able to use it in the car. But again, do these even exist? I don't think I've seen a cigarette lighter in any of the newer cars for some time. And I think the only reason why I got away with this because my Jeep has a cigarette lighter port inside the, I don't know, the glove box or the metal console. And that's the only way I was able to hook this up. Otherwise, it just has USB, I don't know, USB-A, what's the rectangle one? USB, the one you hook up to the outlet, and the USB-C to charge or connect your phone to play music. That's all it really came with, but I don't really see a lot of cars with cigarette lighter outlets. Not that they even make, cigarette ashtrays anymore in vehicles. So this is kind of a way, it's a waste to produce something that requires this. If they were smarter, I guess I would say they can make this into a USB connection if that produces enough power. But again, it has to be able to produce enough power to power this up, right? 13.8 volts. Not a very common thing. I guess I'll have to look at a phone charger for you to see. Oh, here's one. This one says This says 5.0 volts. This is a Samsung wall outlet charger. You put your USB, see whatever this USB is. They should make this into this, right? And give you something like this that can support the radio or for the car as well. So anyways, this is 5.0. So even if you hook this up or hook this up here and hook this up there, I don't know. I'm not really good at engineering cords and power, but long story short, the cord didn't work. This worked for some time, but then the fuse blew. And who's going to sit around and, I don't know if you can see here, this one might be the good one still, but who's going to sit around and keep and collect a bunch of fuses, especially if you're on a road trip and that's your only way to communicate? I don't think anyone's going to sit around and keep or collect a bunch of fuses for this to be swapped out. So I just feel like this is obsolete. This is not really a thing anymore. It's a thing of the past, but not now. All right, so let's go over here. Like I said before, you have your volume here at the very top. You have your squelch. I'll explain that in a minute. You have your PTT, your push to talk, and your volume up and down. And that's all you're going to get with this Uniden Pro401HH. I don't know why they made the name so complicated, like it's going to go viral. Pro401HH. You know what? Does it say how many wattage is on here? I don't think it does. And we'll test it in a few minutes, but let's turn this on. Ready? Yep. All right. All right, so let's talk about squelch. Squelch is essentially a control that allows the channel to be open all the way or closed in certain ways. Newer radios, if you look at Motorola, whatever the case is, it gives you squelch 1 through 9, about 1 through 9, and 2 being the lowest, 0 being just noise like this. And commonly, 6 is the standard for business radios, police radios. That means you have to have a very strong signal for your radio to unmute, right? To unmute, to hear whatever the noise is. For example, with this, your radio is just giving you whatever is coming through, right? Because again, the frequency is picking up just the frequency, the static of the frequency. So we have our squelch somewhere between half. So if it's 1 through 7, it's at what is it, 3.5, 4, and then close would be all the way up to 9 or so. Again, this could be 1 through 7, 1 through 9, but you can kind of see here that it's all the way to the closing port. To the left is open, to the right is closed. You can see that. Left is open, right is closed. So if it's closed, that means we're going to have a pretty strong signal in order for us to get any sort of signal that comes through, right? Now again, let's take a look at how many channels. Like I said before, you got about 40 channels, and they are all open, meaning there's no tones, there's no privacy tones. If I were to turn this down, let's do it there. And let's scan. Let's see what we pick up. Again, channel 19 used to be for traffic. 9 used to be for emergencies. And then usually in some of these other channels, they call something Super Bowl. There's all sorts of dedicated channels for certain things. But again, if you just want to hear people talk junk to each other, just sit here and scan and you'll eventually pick something up. But again, I don't hear traffic much on this anymore. I really don't. It's probably from time to time someone that gets bored, gets on their CB radio and starts hooting and hollering. And, you know, sometimes someone picks up and starts hooting and hollering with them. Sometimes it's just that person and they just make noise and they complain. And I don't know. That's all you're really going to get. So, but that's really all you're going to get from this. Of course, your volume. Of course, your volume, again, your PTT, right? Can you hear that? Hear the little static? That's the AM static there, right? So like the little squelch. Let me get some batteries for this one, and then I'll show you what it sounds like. And then I guess I'll do a small little test here. I'll go to the garage and see what it sounds like. And then I guess that's really all I can really tell you about CB radios. There is a little outlet for a speaker here. You can do an external speaker. There is no connection for a speaker mic. I mean, I guess you can if there's one that fits here. I don't know what sizes this. The speaker and the mic, it has to be a certain length for you to be able to connect something. I'll grab one to see if it fits, but I really doubt it. Even the Radio Shack one that I used to have, it did have a way to connect, and I remember I went through so many speaker mics trying to find the right one for that Radio Shack CB radio. It was just so entertaining seeing so many different speaker mics that would not fit the Radio Shack radio. So, all right, stand by. Let me get the other batteries, and we'll do a short little test. Stand by. All right, team, we're back. Let's see what this one is set to. Looks like it always resets to 9. Yep. All right, let's give it a short little audio test. Let's see what it sounds like. Wait, what channel are we on? 35. We'll go to 35. Maybe less traffic there. Check, check, check 1 2. Check 1 2. Check, check. See how it kind of sounds really amplified, just really muffled. Let me move the microphone closer to the radio, and then I will go to the bedroom, then the garage. I'll do a really quick radio check for you to hear what the audio sounds like. And I guess that's all we can really do with these. So, Sam, let me hook up the speaker mic or the microphone.
Check, check, 1 2.
All right, stand by. Let me go to the other room.
Check, check, 1 2. This is radio check. There's a radio check on the CB radio, channel 35. This is the Uniden Pro401HH. Hopefully this is loud and clear and it sounds crystal clear. Stand by. I'm going to head over to the garage now. Check 1 2. Radio check 1 2. This is radio check. There's a radio check on the same CB radio in the garage. Let's see if it's making any difference. It should be hopefully clear since I'm less than 8,000 feet away. This is again a test on the Uniden Pro401HH. Hopefully it's crystal clear. And I'll be heading back to channel 35.
All right, team. How was that? Hopefully it came in nice and crystal clear. Hopefully it wasn't very buzzy or fuzzy. Again, that's really how the CB radios were designed at some point. Well, I mean, still are, where it's just AM, amplified something. Maybe later on, we can pick up a few FM CB radios. Usually I think Cobra makes one that's AM and FM. Maybe we'll see what the audio difference is. I'm pretty sure it'll be a little bit better, but again, with it being a CB radio, I don't know. Like I said, CB radios, with it being 26, 27 megahertz, great frequencies, but it really depends on the clearance, the obstruction. Usually, if you do those POTAs or SOTAs, they find a park on the hill, or you find a spot on the hill that overlooks the city, overlooks the mountains, and you start jamming out with your CQ and see who you can connect with. And again, sometimes you can get miles and thousands of miles connection, and sometimes you just don't get anything. And again, if you understand CB radio or HF, you'll hear something called DX. And DXing is when you pretty much use the atmosphere to start bouncing your signal, and it reaches even further away. So again, CB radios were not really designed anything more than convoying with your buddies, off-roading or camping. I mean, they used to have those small little brick CB radios. They still sell those. And I don't know if I still want to get into those because, again, I have really gotten deeply into GMRS, with XTS 3000s, 5000s, and Apex, and it works great. I've made some connections pretty far, and with the Arizona GMRS Club, you can start hitting repeaters, and I think I've connected from Buckeye to Mesa on an XTS 3000. So, and again, that's GMRS, that's line of sight. You have repeaters. The only other thing that I may invest in maybe later on is, I think, what's his name? Jack SGV, Silver Ghost Victoria. I'll post his Instagram here, but he actually recommended a presidential or President Washington radio. I think it's a 10 meter. And he said what it does is it repeats. It has like a built-in repeater. So if your car is parked up on the hill and you hit your car's radio, it will transmit it even further. So I don't know how many watts, 100 watts, 300 watts. I don't know what it came with, but it was definitely more than just the standard CB radio 4 or 5 watts. So maybe that's something I'll look into more. I'm not really sure if CB radio is for me anymore. Can it be best because there's less people on there? Yes, but again, you have no tones. You have no way to shut the other noise up if there's a lot of people messing around on these. Like I said, I too bad I'm not really getting some traffic on here for you to see what I typically get. What I'll do is I'll have my scanner on for the night, and I'll see what traffic I can pick up on 26, 27, maybe 28, and I'll let you know. But I really don't think there's much use of CB radios anymore. I don't even see truckers using it. I don't see antennas on their trucks anymore. I used to watch these two guys that would do critical delivery. I think it's like a FedEx critical delivery, and they're talking about how they have a CB radio, but the microphone is not even hooked up to the CB radio, and all they really turn it on for is traffic. If they're stuck in traffic, they'll turn it on to see if someone's even talking about traffic. Maybe I'll do that one day. I'll go find some traffic and turn on the CB radio, see if anyone decides or cares to jump on it. What I have done before is during traffic, I'll tune into GMRS channels and scan that, and I do hear people talk about traffic, about where the traffic is off of, I don't know, 56 or somewhere in Phoenix or Goodyear. You can definitely hear people talking about traffic then, but beyond that, I don't really hear any other radio using traffic alerts or traffic communication. I hear FRS being used for people convoying. They're traveling, convoying. I do hear that still from time to time. I do hear GMRS, but that's really it. What other band is there to use to communicate that's a little bit more clear, I guess a little bit more guaranteed to reach that other radio? So I don't know, maybe I will at some point buy a mobile radio. I'll hook it up in the Jeep. I'll drive around to see what I can get, but I really don't want to throw out any sort of, I guess, boring videos. So maybe I'll go off-roading this weekend and I'll take the radio. I'll see if I can capture anything. Maybe I'll get an external antenna. Hold on, we gotta check the wattage. Stand by. All right, let's hook this up. I don't know if I have I do. Perfect. See, there we go. Do I have the dummy load? Dummy load right here. I'll hook this up. We can test out the antenna after as well. Not really expecting too much of these antennas, but then again, it's Uniden, so hopefully they take care of that. All right, here we go. Oh, can you see it? Let me bring you up a minute. One, two, three. What? All right, RCT. I had to take a break. I am back. I was testing out the wattage on these Uniden CB radios, and for some reason it kept coming up as 0 watts. I know that's obviously wrong, so I had to charge this for a while to see what it was going to do. So let's try this one more time. This is a dummy round up to 100 watts. This is our BNC. Is it BNC? I got to double check because I don't know why I feel like I'm doubting myself. All right, it is BNC. So BNC stands for Bayonet Needle Concealment, I guess. I might be saying that wrong. Referring to the type of, yeah, so I guess, I mean, I've always known what a BNC antenna is. Again, it's this funky looking one. It's not really the SNS. Yeah, I'm gonna confuse myself. SMA. There's all the other ones where you screw it on. Anyways, let me go back to this before I digress too much. I know that this radio is supposed to be at least 4 watts, and when I tested this earlier, for some reason it was showing 0 wattage. So let's try this again. The way this works is it shows here S.W.R would be the one it's on right now, and then forward wattage is the one up. So you press that once, and then you should be able to get some reading. See? What is that? 0.00? What am I doing wrong? Hold on. I need to test this on something else. Let's try on, I hate mixing radios in these field tests, but I feel like I'm gonna lose my mind if I don't test this. So this is SMA, right? SMA. I'm gonna screw this on. All right, we'll turn it on. Okay. All right, here we go. Okay, so that's on low watt, low power. You can see here it says L. Okay, and let's go to high power. So now it says H. All right. Let me reset it once. Okay. All right. One more time. We're gonna test the outward wattage. 1, 2, and 3. There you go. 5.1. Okay. Sorry, my allergies are really kicking my rear today. It started to cool down in Arizona, and that means a lot more pollen in, I don't know what we're in, spring, fall, something like that, winter. All right, so this works. So it's not this. It's got to be this. How can that be? And again, this doesn't have low and high power, does it? I mean, the only thing it has here is this, and it's on high, right? So let's try this one more time. We'll turn that off. All right, so you all saw that. Okay, that's on there good. We'll turn this on again. Okay, ready? What is going on? Am I doing something wrong? I'm confused. I'm really confused. Okay, here we go again. No, nothing. Okay, I guess I'll let you be the judge for this. I don't know what's happening because it worked on the other radio. I'm keying up to see how much wattage it's going out, and it's showing as if there's nothing going through. Okay, let's test out the S.W.R then. I guess we'll try that. So we're going to use our BNC connector, right? So you connect this with this, right? And then you put this here. Let's restart this. Turn back on. All right, so it's S.W.R, right? That one means S.W.R. Let's see. Wow, 1.9. Wow, that is, I mean, off the charts, yes, because S.W.R should be somewhere around 1.5. Anything above that, I mean, you're really getting bad connection or a signal out of your antenna. So that seems to be pretty out of line. Let's go. Let's test this one. This is the one I bought for this one here. Let's see if this is any better. All right, I'll restart this. Let me lift you up so you can see a little bit more. All right, here we go. 1, 2, and 3. Very nice. That is a really good antenna. This is a really good antenna. That's awesome. This was I don't know, like an aftermarket from Amazon. I'll post a link, but that's a really good antenna. And again, this one, the one that came with, this one seems to be trash. Look at that. That's pretty bad. All over. All right, this is the box it came with. Let's see if it says anything about wattage. Okay. So yeah, 4 watts power. 40 channels, rechargeable or alkaline batteries not included. Auto noise cancellation. I don't know about that. High-low power selection. DC power flexible antenna. It's not really flexible. It's stiff. This is flexible, right? This is not. This is like a drumstick or snare. Belt clip and strap. Puissance de 4 watts. Okay. I don't know. False advertisement. I'm a little disappointed. This really has no reading for the wattage out. I really hope I'm doing something wrong. I tried both radios. Check, check, check. I am confused. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. There. Oh, it says 1.15. It says 0.15 now. So they lied. This is not 4 watts. Why was it working earlier? All right. I guess I'll let you decide on what these really are capable of doing. Gotta say I'm very disappointed. When I do my field test, I'm really gonna have very low expectations for this. I'll probably give this a 2 out of 5 until it can prove me otherwise. All right, RCT, that's all I really have. I apologize. This didn't go as better as I thought, especially with the wattage. It promising 4 watts. I would say Uniden has some explaining to do or a better job for the upcoming radios that they're going to manufacture or do. So, all right, team, that's all I have. Let me see if I can do a radio check over now. I'll do this antenna. This is a really good antenna. Wow, look at that. Okay, some good connection. All right, team. Let's see if I can do check, check, 1, 2. All right, team. Thanks for joining. Radio check. Over now.